Hey everyone, I'm Chris, horror filmmaker and fanatic, here to explain to you how scary things are and why. Today I'm talking about a Serbian film. Full spoilers this time, I'm going all in. If you haven't seen this film and you don't want it spoiled, you actually want to check it out yourself, I did a non-spoiler version, but I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you probably already know what this film is kind of about, and you've either already seen the film and want to hear what I thought about it, or you don't want to ever watch this film and you'd rather vicariously feel like you watched it by listening to me talk about it. Because of the messed up nature of this film, I'm going to do my best to colorfully censor my language as I describe the horrible things that happen in this film, so that way I don't get censored or banned off of this platform. So let's do it. Let's explain why Serbian Film is so messed up. First up, the plot of this film, just right away you already know what you're getting into, is about a former porn star who needs to make money for his family, so he decides to sign up for another porno, but it ends up being something else entirely, and it's really messed up and about the grossest sexual things you can possibly imagine. But we'll get to all that with the categories. First category, thrills. This film, moderate thrills here and there. It's actually a bit of a slow builder. I've watched this film twice, and the second time was literally last night, and I was kind of surprised at how slow building it is. And I think if you already know what is expected to happen, then the tension isn't quite being built up, because this film does have like scenes that are full on like, crazy, you know, but like it's not, you know, trying to scare you necessarily with it. It's more of just like, it's like just kind of fun and intense. A lot of the ending is pretty thrilling, particularly when Milos is Milos's main character. He is fighting back, and the nature of how he fights back, which I will get into. But yeah, the thrills overall in this film is just kind of moderate. I would say there's just, you know, average amount. Grossness, this is the disgusting stuff. This film's pretty gross. I'll explain some of it, but really I'll just kind of summarize a lot of it in the next category because that's what this film is about. But grossness, this film is a lot of sexual stuff, a lot of sexual violence and abuse, and it shows all of it, basically. There's nothing up to the imagination, especially if you're watching the full unedited version. The good thing I can say, actually, is that anytime they show a dick, whenever bad things are happening to said dick, you can kind of tell that it's fake, so that sort of detracts from the grossness a bit. There's one scene where there is excrement being released from said member, and it lands on a female's face, and you see it all. That's pretty gross. And just the whole thought of the film as a whole, just everything about it on paper, you just think about it, it makes you just feel ugh. And a huge twist ending that I will get into is really gross, especially because of a certain detail that happens right before it that actually is hinting at what is to come. When I think about that, that's really gross. It's really, 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 really gross. So yeah. Oh, and I almost forgot. There's a scene in the middle of the film that is the first time the film actually really reveals its cards. The term is newborn. So you can just imagine what that's about. Yeah, that's when the film really shows. Oh, we're gonna go there. So yeah, it's pretty gross. But shock value, what is shock value? Well, it's all the disturbing, messed up stuff that you wouldn't expect to see in a film, right? A Serbian film does it all. On paper, this is the most messed up film I've ever seen. It literally has the most shocking content you can possibly imagine ever be done, basically, without it just being a full-on snuff film. Let's start from the beginning. So right away, the film is just setting itself up for success in this category because Milos' son is watching his dad's pornos. He doesn't realize what he's watching, but like he's watching them. And his son's like 6 years old, so he just has no idea what's happening. But that right away is like, oh, okay, all right, okay. And it's kind of funny where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. There's a lot of sex scenes that are like, okay, like you're kind of like, wait, is this consensual? Okay, I guess it is. All right. So then it's like, okay. But then once he signs up for the film, he starts having to do different scenes. So the whole point of the film is that the film that he signed on for, he doesn't know what he's going to be doing because they don't want to tell him. He just has an earpiece, and they have cameraman set up, and they have actors, actresses, and they're like, all right, you just go and you do what we tell you to do. And at first, it's just kind of messed up. He receives a oral pleasure from a woman while in an orphanage after just watching that woman beat up a underage girl, and the underage girl is watching him get pleasure the whole time. So he's uncomfortable, of course, but then he just kind of deals with it, whatever. Next scene, the same sort of situation happens, but this time the woman bites down on his dick and is like trying to like be violent, and so they're telling him to hit her, and he ends up like actually beating her up to stop her, and then she ends up finishing him. Great, cool. And then at that point is when he's like, I kind of want to not do this film anymore, see ya, but they drug him. and they drug him with a bull Viagra, like a mixture serum that basically is like ecstasy mixed with Viagra mixed with something or other, and basically it turns him into the most horniest, aggressive animal ever. But he doesn't realize what he does until he wakes up, and so then he recounts the events and watches the tapes, and this is where the film gets really messed up. The first messed up scene he has to do, he ends up having sex with a woman who's tied up, and they tell him to beat her up, so he's beating her up, right? Like actually just hitting her, and then they hand him a machete and they say, do it, she deserves it. So he swings down and proceeds to cut her head off. It just never stops doing what he's doing, though. Like, he still keeps going long after she's dead, long after there's blood everywhere. And yeah, that one was messed up. That was pretty shocking. Then, this one's actually funny. One of the guards decides to sodomize him in his sleep and films it. Like, haha, check it out. Check out what I'm doing to this guy. Haha. So that was pretty shocking. Then there's a scene that's not even him. It's just one of the guards doing something. They have a woman tied up, and they've removed all of her teeth. And this is the gross one I was talking about. And then the guy decides to then insert his member into her teethless mouth and pleasure himself. And she can't do anything about it because she ain't got no teeth. And then he makes her suffocate on it, and she dies. So that's messed up. Then we have the finale. He has to perform on these two people that are under these covers, so he doesn't know who he's about to do it with. And this whole time, his brother has always had the hots for his wife, Milos's wife. So that was always creepy, but Milos never really understood that, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, so that's a little detail that I'll just randomly bring up. Here comes this guy in a hood over to perform on the bigger person underneath the covers. You got the guy now with the bigger person. You take the bag over his head. Oh my God, it's Milos's brother. Uh-oh. Wait, so who is he having sex with? Remove the covers. Ah, it's Milos's wife, of course. Oh, that's messed up. My brother is having sex with my wife. Wow. Wait. Who's the smaller person? Please God, no. And it is. It's exactly who you believe it is. It's like the most messed up thing I can think of. Yeah, it's messed up. That's the gross one. It's probably the grossest thing to me when I think about it. I'm like, So yeah, so then the wife and Milos decide to fight back at that point. The wife bites the brother's neck out, kills him. Milos somehow gets a gun and shoots all the other people, except this one guy who's like a tank and takes a couple hits but keeps going. And so then the way that Milos defeats this guy is he somehow pulls an eye patch off and reveals that the tanky guy is missing an eye. And Milos, still hard, shoves it into the guy's eye hole and kills him with it. Who writes this? Who writes this, hires actors to perform it, films it, edits it, and publishes it? And the thing is, the film's kind of well done. Like, it's competently made. So, like, there's genuine talent behind this. What? So then the ending of the film is Milos's family commits suicide because they can't handle what just happened to them. They shoot themselves with a single bullet, and they're all dead in the bed. And then it cuts to a couple guards and a guy with a camera. They're now filming, and the guy tells one of the guards, start with the little one. And the guard unzips. The end. So yeah. That's why it's that. Moving on to atmosphere, final category. Luckily, atmosphere is kind of on the lower end because this film is a satire. When you hear about the film, you think, wow, that's the most messed up, horrific thing ever. But when you watch the film has a weird mixture of taking itself seriously and being competently made, but at the same time, it does push the shock value and grossness to such a ridiculous degree that you can't really take it all that seriously. You kind of feel like you are in a bit of a farce. It's not a parody at all or anything, and the whole point of the film is that it's a satire on how Serbian artists apparently are not able to really make the films that they want, that only films that are made are politically correct BS films funded by government programs or whatever, and that apparently the Serbian people have suffered a lot, and so the director wanted to show, hey, this is what's happening to us. I'm going to show you the most messed up things ever because that's what's happening to us. I want you to feel it. And it's like, I mean, you did a good job at that. And at the same time, you have it to such a degree that it is kind of a satire. So in a weird way, because of this atmosphere, you're not going to leave this film darkly depressed or like, you're horrified, but at the end, you can kind of sit tight and be like, all right, but I know it's not real. And so the atmosphere is actually on the lower end. So with all the categories right next to each other, the atmosphere is the main thing that really detracts from this film. If you're looking for shock value, you can't find anything worse. or better in a weird way. And yeah, that's really what this film is all about. The atmosphere is the main thing that detracts it, because I've seen really messed up films that also are like really dark and messed up with its atmosphere, and those I would actually say affect me more. You know, like Hereditary affects me more than a Serbian Film, even though a Serbian Film has more shock value and is grosser and all that. It's the atmosphere of Hereditary that really sells it, versus a Serbian Film doesn't really have much atmosphere. It's just kind of going for fun messed up. And that's what it is. So yeah, that's a Serbian Film. The first time I saw this film, I was 15 years old. A friend in class explained the plot to me. He read it out loud in class, and somehow no one heard it, I guess. But yeah, I was like, wow, that's messed up. I want to see it. So I somehow, just browsing my FYE like a year later, just found it. I found a DVD, and I was like, oh, I'm buying this and watching it. And then I watched it, and it scarred me forever. And then I watched it again last night with my friends, and all of us are actually shocked to kind of find like, all right, you know, on paper it is the most messed up thing ever, but the way it's handled actually is manageable. And there was a slight black comedy enjoyment, just to kind of see, all right, this film's kind of having fun with how messed up it is. Let's just kind of see where it goes. And because it's competently made, it's kind of an enjoyable watch. You are like entertained, you know, aside from the messed up stuff. There's still like a story and characters. You're not gonna super be invested at all. You know, it's no masterpiece or anything, but it's competent enough made, and there's talent behind the camera where it's just like, that's very interesting that they decided to make this with the talent that they have. And yeah, I mean, they set out to make the most shocking film ever, and by golly, they did it. For recommendations, if you're looking for a film like this, then this is it. Don't watch it otherwise. You're just going to be grossed out and shocked, and you're just going to be like, man, now I have that in my head. I think most human beings on this earth can probably go without watching a Serbian film. I love horror, and I have a stomach for gross, messed up stuff, so that's why I watched it. I don't know how the hell I watched this at 15. That's bad. But anyway, yeah, that's a Serbian Film. So if you want to check it out yourself, I'll include links to a bunch of different versions in the description, because there's a lot of versions of this film out there. It's kind of hard to get. Comment below any other horror movies you would like me to go over. I'll go over all kinds, clearly, because the Serbian Film is the highest in a certain category. I'd like to not watch another one like that for a bit, though. Subscribe for more, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.